Welcome back, Rainmakers, to the Crypto Rain channel. I'm your host, Jay Murph, and today I've got a special guest on, and he's got a great YouTube channel, and I love his take on things, and I frequently watch him myself. But before we get into that, let's go ahead and get this party started. Join me, Rainmakers. Fantastic. I want to welcome our special guest today, Dub Digital, with his channel, which we'll provide in the link below. And, you know, a lot of times you ask me who I watch and who I look to get a feel of their take. And I'm pretty particular on that. I like people that think about economics, they think about tokenomics, and they, they're very strategic on what interests them. And Dub Digital, when I found him about 2 months ago and I was watching, I totally laughed watching his videos because they were funny. But I was like, this guy is particularly intelligent. And so I subscribed myself, and I have fun watching his channel, as well as I feel like the information is solid. Dub, thank you for joining us.
Hey, thank you for having me. Appreciate it very much.
Yeah, would you share with everyone your story? How'd you get into crypto? Everyone's got a different story, what attracted them and why they got started.
Yeah, for sure. Got into crypto around 2013. One of my friends was always tinkering with computers ever since he was a little kid, building computers and all that. And you just think, oh, he's doing his computer thing. As the years got going, he approaches me 2013 and says, hey, this thing Bitcoin just went up to $1,000 and came back down to 100. Are you interested? And I was like, okay, well, sounds like, some World of Warcraft stuff. I wasn't particularly a gamer at the time. Wasn't really in depth into like the internet too much like that at that time. And he starts telling me like the economic thing. That's what I'm really about, right? Econ, business. That's what I really click with. He starts telling me the deflationary properties of Bitcoin.
Yeah, that's what grabbed your attention.
That's what grabbed my attention, and like I was very aware of the inflation occurring from like QE and all that in 2011, 2010, all that. And then I said, okay, and ultimate inflation for ultimate deflation, and that seems like a good fit.
Mm-hmm.
And then he told me that it was divisible by a million pieces, Satoshis. And then I said, okay, so you're talking about a hard cap supply money that is almost infinitely divisible if they can extend that. And inflation's occurring in the monetary system. It sounds almost like infinite money, right? Soaking up the excess inflation. He said, well, I guess, yeah, because he was approaching it from more of a computer standpoint. I said, yeah, I'll buy some, and that's how my, I guess, love affair with crypto and Bitcoin really began.
It starts you down the rabbit hole, right? And at first you hear Bitcoin, you're like, oh, this makes sense. And then you find out about like Ethereum's kind of step 2 down the rabbit hole. Oh, what's this Ethereum thing? And oh, smart contracts. And oh, how does that work?
Yeah.
And then it starts to spread from there.
And you really don't really know what you have, right? When you first enter, you're like, okay, well, this thing's cool, sits there. and 2013, people forget. We didn't have hardware wallets. We didn't have nice custodial solutions. We had Bitcoin Core wallets on a CD. With a randomized string of capitalized and characters and all that stuff. It was like very easy to lose. It's just a time that people don't really think about if you haven't been around. But it's harder to custody your stuff back then too.
Yeah, I imagine that's why part of the reason so much is lost, right? It really complex. They didn't know if it would continue up in value. They forget about it. They might even still have it on their computer and they don't even remember how to access it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So now we're in the middle of 2021, and this is the third year of the 4-year cycle, or this is the boom year, the year after the Bitcoin halving. What are you watching for your own portfolio that you're like, man, I like this one and I think it's undervalued?
So as far as like navigating the cycle, right, and the boom cycle, which is the most challenging, in my opinion, because it's exponential. It's hard to measure heights, especially exponential movement, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to do that as humans. We think linearly. So basically, I'm really looking at the Bitcoin dominance chart.
Okay.
I'm looking for significant drops. I'm looking for about getting back down to all-time low on the Bitcoin dominance of 36%. and maybe lower. But, conservatively speaking, once I see about 36%, I'm looking like, okay, all coins have had a good run, no matter what my coins are doing at that point, because I'm looking at the aggregate
Yeah.
movement. Okay. Then I'm going to cut profits into, cash as I need it, because we all got to do that, play that game still.
Yeah.
And then Bitcoin. That's probably going to, and this is all based off of last cycle. I'm a kind of guy who's like, okay, I'm going to navigate myself in a way that's consistent with the past, because that's the most relevant data point that I have right now until a wrench gets thrown in there. So I'm watching for a big drop, Bitcoin dominance, taking some cash, but doing most of that profit into Bitcoin. Then end of the year, I'm going to ride that, because it's all about, alts are cool, alts are great, but I do want to like hedge my risk as the cycle goes on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, alts get wrecked in crypto winter. Bitcoin gets a little bit wrecked. In every cycle, I think Bitcoin becomes a little bit more stable. And I think some altcoins that kind of their functionality comes into fruition, they'll get wrecked less, but just less, right? Less than most of the other alts. Because we saw retracements in the last cycle on almost every alt retrace between 95, which was Ethereum, to 99.5%, which was just about everything else. And so if you were in alts, your portfolio was just a disaster zone. If you were in Bitcoin, it was just less of a disaster zone. And so I learned a very hard lesson about taking profits, because I didn't cash out anything. I kept 100% in crypto. And a lot of that in alts, just a little bit of in Bitcoin. My portfolio went from big numbers to really small numbers. It's like, oh man.
Yeah.
Oh, but this technology is going to change the world. But that's when I started learning about this cycle and the 4-year cycle. And I was like, oh my gosh, why didn't anybody share this, right? All the YouTube channels I was watching, like, it was kind of the blind leading the blind. And most of them were just early adopters of crypto that started YouTube channels. They didn't have like an economics background or an investment background. And so like they just didn't know. And so therefore I didn't know to look for that. And something I discovered during the crypto winter is how cyclical the nature of Bitcoin is. Almost, it rhymes a lot. It's performing different because it continues to evolve, but it rhymes pretty strongly. And so there's every reason to believe that there will be another crypto winter following a massive bull market. And it seems to me we're halfway through this bull market. Is that your feeling on it too?
I think we're on the, well, not financial advice, but I think we're on the cusp of the first big leg on the altcoin season. And once that takes place, I think that's halfway. I tend to lean that, it could be left leaning, right leaning. We could have that discussion, but I think, fourth quarter, late third quarter, that's when you got to start getting defensive.
Yeah.
You know.
Protect those gains, because at the end of the day, it's not about how much you gain during this bull market. If you don't take profits in it, and at the end of the day, it's what you have that you didn't lose too. And so making really good gains is important this year, but then at a certain point, like you said, becoming defensive so that you're taking profits and you're then hedging your risk or lowering your risk. So
Yeah, because there's basically two schools of thought, right? It's either crypto's the new paradigm, we're changing, the dollar's going away. Hey, that could happen. But I thought the dollar was going to die a long time ago.
yeah, 2013, everyone said, "Well, dollar's dead. Bitcoin's going to
Yep.
replace it."
Yep. So do we have another cycle of that? I don't know. I do know at some point fiat currencies will go away, but I'm not in the guessing game. I'm in the making money game.
Yeah, and then
So
being smart about hedging your risk, right? Otherwise, it's not just investment; it's a lot of speculation involved there. And if I were to guess, and this is just my guess for my own personal investment, there's about a 10% chance that this is a super cycle that doesn't go away. In my perspective, that's a pretty low chance. Could it happen? Yes. I mean, it's like every federal and state bank across the world is printing like crazy. And so it could happen. It's just still.
yeah. Yeah. Just you can position yourself in a way where sorry about that. You can position yourself in a way where essentially you can benefit either way it goes.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be all in one, right? You can take some cash in case the thing drops, and then you can buy it at the bottom. You can save some Bitcoin in case dollar actually dies. keeps going up. Guys, it's not about making that killer all in play. It's about being in the move. You're going to be in the move, you're going to make money, but I know you don't have to pick. You don't have to pick. You can just, lighten up your profits, switch them in Bitcoin, whatever. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but it's just an alternative way of thinking about it.
Now, I wanted to talk to you about a problem that I frequently see with new people in Bitcoin, and I hope many of you are watching this, hear this. Do you also see this a lot with your subscribers, that when you're brand new at this, it's hard to be patient? And I remember that, and they tend to put a lot of what they have into one or two coins or tokens. And then when it doesn't go up and they see other things running up, they're then like, and then they sell this before it's really had its gains, and sometimes even retrace some as it's continued to trade sideways. And they roll that into something that just pumped 3, 4, 5x, only to catch maybe the tail end of the pump and then catch a nice retracement on that massive pump. And then they're frustrated. What do you do to help be patient when you're liking something and you're investing and thinking, okay, it's possibly breaking out here, or I just like this long term? What helps you be patient to just hold on while it continues trading sideways?
Sorry about that. Basically, taking my initial capital out. It's house money to me, So I look at my bags, my position as a lottery ticket. It's a lottery ticket. I get my capital in, it 100% up, pull my capital out, then I move it. My bag's still there. I still got exposure. But if it goes to zero, whatever. If it goes up 100%, I pull some more, and I'm just moving that money around. You got to kind of have to be detached when you're investing, guys. And that's why people say don't put as much in that you don't want to. Wow. Sorry about that. Don't put more in than you don't want to lose, basically.
Yeah.
It's true, guys. Do not put more in than you don't want to lose, because when you do, you start stressing out and freaking out. And you start freaking out. You start looking at your Blockfolio every 2 seconds, and it's going down, and that rent money's going away. But you put yourself in that position. And that's something that, my growth on my channel is probably slower because I say these things. But it's true.
Yeah.
If you put yourself, you guys want to invest in a way that reduces your stress. It's the stress that makes you make mistakes. It's the stress that makes you pull too early. It's all of that. So if you're feeling that, you might want to lighten your bags up. Because if you just started investing in crypto, hey, that's normal. But you're not there yet to be throwing big money around like that. Ease yourself into it, get more confident, see profits, know you can do it over and over again, and then up your bet a little bit. And up your bet a little bit. Because it's when you jump in with all you got, you're not as experienced. And it's okay to admit that. Everyone starts there.
Yeah.
You're
always new before you're good, right? Or you're always bad before you're good. And we all started there. And so sound advice. And, at the end of the day, I hope every one of both of our channel subscribers understands that it's not just going to be this cycle. There's likely going to be the next one too. So this is a good time to dip your feet in, not overexpose yourself, not throw your rent money in and possibly get wrecked. Please don't trade on leverage unless you've been successfully trading spot for 5 years and you understand well how to mitigate your risk, because trading leverage, you can actually lose massive amounts of capital in the middle of a bull market. And so it's about doing as well as you can this cycle and then taking strategic profits out so that you can invest with us again in the crypto winter, because that's when all the good gains happen. It's just about everything I put money into a year and a half ago, has 10 to 100x since then. And we're only halfway through the bull market. And so HOT was super cheap. Nobody was talking about it. I thought this is the ultimate meme coin. This is going to do super well. I don't know if Chain, if they're going to hit it with their idea with this, but it's so cheap at some point it'll catch fire like Dogecoin, but with better tokenomics than Dogecoin. And so, and sure enough, it's absolutely skyrocketed, right? And there are some good things about it fundamentally too, but because I don't tend to hold things that I don't at least like the fundamentals behind it. But I don't have to know if hot's going to make it long term, because a lot of things that won't. I just knew it was super undervalued at the time and just buy it and hold it for a while. And there were many other things that's like, oh, you know,
Yeah, you bring up a good point. Like, to just touch back a little bit. I'm totally on there with you with leverage trading. I get it for stocks and things that don't move that much, but for crypto, how much gains do you need? How many gains do you really need in crypto when things are going up thousands of percent? When you throw leverage in there, yeah, you can get crazy gains way faster, but then you expose yourself to an element of risk. And capital, guys, is the most important thing in an investor's life. You guys can't invest if you don't got capital. So I'm not here to talk anyone off of like leverage trading. You guys do whatever you want. But, if you're investing in the bottoms, if you're following channels like me, you're following channels like Jay Murph right here, you're gonna have some big gains. I mean, that's what happens when you invest on bottoms. So just, think about it. You can make pretty good money with just investing in spot.
ridiculous money that if you were to talk to some stock traders and you'd say, hey, yeah, shoot, I've been invested for 6 months and my position's only 8x'd, they would say like 0.08% increase. You say, no, at 8x, and they say like
Yeah.
800% increase. That's impossible. Nothing does that. That's an average day in the market in a bull market for crypto, right? So,
For sure.
and,
Yeah.
and they're like, not an average day, but over a 6 month period, that's what an average portfolio will do during this bull cycle. And then the trick is to start taking profits as we get near to the end. And you'll hear more and more that this time it's different. We're not going to have a downturn. This time, fiat is going to go away. And maybe that's true. But do you want to keep all your eggs in that basket? Because that basket could get stepped on by reality. And then all your eggs are gone again. And then, you haven't preserved some capital to buy really cheap during the following crypto winter if that happens again. And so I'm going to put 90% of my bets towards hedging as far as like taking out profits into Bitcoin, also some into fiat. And I don't know what I'm going to be rolling those into, because it seems to me for my own investment, stocks are overpriced, most all of them. Real estate is overpriced, most all of it. So I'm not sure what there's going to be, but there will be something. And maybe something will have a big correction by then. Maybe something will be super attractive at the end of this year that'll be like, oh my gosh, yes, this. But I don't like to buy stocks when it's had like a 12-year uphill climb for 12 freaking years. Real estate in most markets have had that. Now, maybe there's a market I'm not aware of that's had massive, massive retracements, and I might be interested in that market. It might be Greece. It might be somewhere, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking at that, what I'm going to diversify into. And if fiat looks too ready to crumble, it might just be Bitcoin, knowing that Bitcoin may retrace. But if I think fiat is going just off a cliff or continues to head off that cliff, might just be a little bit in fiat and mostly in Bitcoin, because even though it might get hit, it'll just get hit less than just about everything else.
For sure. And while we're on the topic of off crypto for 1 second, one idea, I think I'm with you with the stocks. Longest bull run in history, or yeah, we put past it, right? Longest bull run in history for stocks, with the exception, I think, of like certain industries like robotics, AI, augmented technology, virtual reality, like that kind of stuff. That's like emerging.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually, when you think about it, like the economy's on a decline, but what would people implement? What would business people implement to increase efficiency? Robotics. You don't pay a robot. And this is the thing where we might see a social transition in the way we just live. Less people, more machines. That's something I would possibly look into. Of course, it's not everything would go up. Certain things would go up, but that's something I'd look at.
Yeah, because even in an overall general trend, sometimes there's like exceptions to that rule. So even when stocks might be in a general decline, it's about what is undervalued versus most everything being overvalued. Does that make sense? So you
Yeah.
bring up a really good point there. Now, one of the ways, actually, the way I found you is I was doing some additional research on Wanchain, and I came across your videos. So, speaking about things that I feel are undervalued, Wanchain has been one of my favorites. That is, I've taken profits on other things that have gone to crazy highs. Like I bought some metal like 9 months ago or something crazy, and I just saw this parabolic run on it. And I'm like, okay, I'm taking massive profits on that. What am I going to roll it into? What, in my opinion, is undervalued. Still, okay, Wanchain. Do I think metal's undervalued? I don't know where the value on metal is long term. I bought it because I knew it was massively undervalued at the time. So
Mm-hmm.
is it near the top? No, but I wouldn't say at the current pricing it was continued to be massively undervalued. Whereas I look at Wanchain, I was like, yeah, okay, take profits here, roll it into Wanchain. Now, what has your attention about Wanchain?
Well, I've always had I actually use like crypto, and the way I like know I want to get into something is I'm using it, and I'm looking for sticking points and pain points. Like, okay, Bitcoin a long time ago was really not useful. It was not useful. It was on a CD, long addresses. No one had it. You had to sync up the whole wallet. It took sometimes days to do it, depending how long you were gone. I'm looking for pain points, but as time goes on, less pain points occur. But one of them that's still persisting around is getting from one chain to the other without going through an exchange, because I don't like going through exchanges. I don't like giving my Bitcoin to a custodian, give me wrap Bitcoin. I don't want that. I saw Wanchain as an actual decentralized system that can be used, that's right now, and it's up and running right now. Shoot, sorry. They're doing yard work outside. Can you guys hear that? Can you guys hear that?
Totally, totally.
Sorry about that. Sorry about that, guys.
Yeah,
Wow.
no worries whatsoever. I might hear some vacuuming. My cleaner's about to like clean the upstairs, so we might hear
Okay.
some vacuuming on my end soon too.
I can't do anything about that, but I apologize, guys. But either way, so basically, it's ready to go right now. It's running. You can't really say that about all these other coins that are claiming interoperability. I could jump on Wanchain right now, go on, get a WAN Bitcoin, and switch it over to WAN EOS, and there we go. No one was involved, and I like that. And knowing that, I'm looking at Wanchain as like the cross-chain bank, and liquidity is going to flow into it from all other chains. And if you think that Uniswap is doing big numbers now, the potential that Wanchain can do. It's just every other chain they connect up, it could flood in, liquidity floods in, that appreciates Wanchain. It's like it's a vicious cycle. That's the way I look at it. So that's why I'm attracted. Community's been there. They've gone through some pain. They're not going anywhere. I also look at the community, how like rock solid they are.
Yeah.
If they still have a community after that kind of drop, that means something. So
What's funny about Wanchain is I remember 2017, 2018. I would have to rate it as one of the most anticipated ICOs that everyone wanted in and very few got into. And it came out in the beginning of the bear market and it still went all the way to $10. And then, like everything else, got affected by the bear market and everyone forgot about it. And I like those kind of undervalued gems because I don't look to what everyone else sees to decide what I think the value is. I look at the white paper, I look at the team, I look at what they're doing, I'm looking at does this have some tokenomics behind it that I like? And that's how I decide what I like. And so when I look around and it's like some of the big crypto channels aren't talking about it, that doesn't worry me. In fact, that excites me because that's like, okay, they will be talking about this. But as other people start to discover it and then it goes crazy, then they're all of a sudden like, yeah, I'm investing in Wanchain. Like,
yeah.
all right. Yeah, you just bought it at $15. Congratulations. That's
Hey,
awesome.
you know what though, guys? You got to understand why influencers do what they do, right? I mean, there's something called they're chasing keywords, right? And hype on the search terms. So it makes sense because it rewards them the way it rewards them. Okay, they're big channels and they got that pull and they could do it, and that's good for them. But understand that's why they're doing it. Smaller channels, they typically don't have that incentive. That's why we do it, right? Like it's all about, like, you have to understand that, okay, it's not getting pushed on this big channel that I watch. Well, okay, well, it's not getting talked about that much. If you want to buy low, sell high, that's not necessarily a bad thing. You just have to be aware and just like don't derive the validity of a investment based off if your friend's talking about it or you see it a lot on Reddit. Like, that's when it's low. It's up to you to find the gem, you know?
Yeah, and that's why I tune into multiple channels, but I mostly tune into those that I think do good analysis. And I just kind of soak it in and I use it to inform myself because I understand I don't know everything. I can't know everything. I don't have the time to process and break down everything. So I do tune into people that I think do good breakdowns on things, and I use that to help inform me faster because we only have 24 hours a day. And I don't know about you, boy, sometimes I'm at my limit. Like I need like 30 hours in a day. And
Yeah.
it's hard during this bull run. It's a good problem to have because just trying to keep up with the market is a full-time job. Then trying to talk about it in a way that makes sense. And I'm an investor myself. I'm trying to do smart investments and keep current on what things are at and what am I taking profits on and what am I going to roll that into. And, I just share with my viewers exactly what I'm doing. And they can do whatever they want because it's not financial advice. I'm just telling them why I'm making the decisions I'm making and what decisions I am making. And so that maybe it's a piece of informing them towards the greater picture. And yeah, when you said that makes sense about a lot of the larger YouTube channels. They talk about what's hot because that gets them lots of views. And a lot of people use that to think, okay, such and such, and they run into that. But I don't know about you. I generally like the mantra of buy low and sell high. And by the time it hits full exposure that everyone's talking about it, like metal or, I bought it when nobody was talking about it. I was like, oh, yeah, I remember how that did in 2018. It went pretty high. Wow, it's way down here. It looks cheap. Oh, their team is still alive. They're still working on it. This is really cheap. I'm going to buy it. So then when everybody starts talking about it, that's an indication to me, okay, at least take profit one zone. So when I hear all the big channels talking about something that I bought when everyone had forgotten about it, I usually reevaluate and say, okay, is this take profit zone 1, 2, or everything, right? And so sometimes it's take profit everything. Unfortunately for many, that's their cue to like, oh, I'm going to buy it. And then they buy it at the top only to see a big retracement because it had some massive gains. And they chase these green candles, and that's just what happens a lot of times when they're new. And they think because somebody's talking about it on YouTube and they've been around for a few years that they know what they're talking about. And some do and some don't. Some are investors and some are just kind of news channels. And that's cool. Like, I listen to some of the news channels sometimes just to hear what events are going on. I definitely don't buy what they tell me they're buying, though. I'm trying to think if there's an exception to that. Not yet. Not on certain
See, I've
ones.
done I've done a couple of them, but the problem I ran into, even if it was a good coin, I didn't hold on to it long enough to see it through because I didn't believe in it like that. Because I find the only way that I have the grit to get through a bear market, which I just did, or watch like a crash or something happen and not sell, is if I found it myself, or if someone sold me enough, like sold me, like really sold me, which is rare because I require, like, a lot of in-depth analysis. So like the one main thing I would tell people who are new to crypto is you have to love your project. You have to like it a lot because there's going to be days where it's not easy to hold it, and sometimes it's like you could buy on the bottom, and if you sell at a 20% pump and then it runs up 2000%, you did a lot of the hard work for not a lot of the payout, right? So it just makes the job easier. And I'm all about, I'm not the most sophisticated in terms of trading, like with Elliott Wave and all these other different trading, like, I guess, strategies and techniques. But you don't have to be super smart to make money when investing. If you know the concept of buy low, sell high, you see the value in the investment that you're buying, you can see the world where it would flourish, you know, just have some awareness,
Hmm.
the investment goes up. because if you invest with the trend, typically the trend persists until, well, it doesn't. But that's, that's why you follow channels like, me and Jay Murph here.
So, question. So it seems like you probably hold less tokens overall, maybe 5 or 10 projects, but ones you feel very solid on the fundamentals, and then you tend to hold them longer term.
I actually have, okay, so I have a lot of, a big percentage of my portfolio in the Grayscale Trust coins. One, because mainly it's larger cap, mid to large cap coins, but this is crypto. They're all coins and undervalued compared to Bitcoin, in my opinion, not financial advice, right? So those are what I consider safe gains, but still significant gains, right? But then I also have like, my picks. I probably in total have about like 20 coins, but that's because of my strategy where I pull my profit, I keep the bag, half the bag. And again, that's my lottery ticket.
Yeah.
If that thing runs up like a Doge, wow, then I might pull the whole thing. It's all kind of dependent on how it performs, you know. But if I have my money back, I don't really care that much,
Takes out all your
So
emotional ties to it. So then you can distance yourself emotionally and be like, wow, that's really pumping. I'm going to take out some more. Fantastic. But you don't worry about it. You don't stress about it.
or if I stumbled on a gem, like a real gem, like an Ethereum gem, then I have a big old bag that I might let it ride,
Yeah.
because it has that momentum and that hype. But you really can't. You can do all the analysis, guys. You really can't tell until it happens. Like I remember Matic a year ago. Crypto Secret Circle was talking about a channel that I watch, and no one was taking it seriously. But then it 20x'd.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I knew Matic was probably going to be, appreciate, but not like that. I didn't think Doge would do this again. I mean, I should know by now. It's happened enough times, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Matic is one that I had a little bit of. I wish I'd had more because I didn't realize all of a sudden they would have their bridge and they would have their their quick swap or whatever they're calling it. I forget. And all of a sudden, yeah, everyone realized that and it went crazy. And I was like, crap. Oh well, missed that one.
Yeah.
I don't run and chase it. I did pick up some on a retracement, and then I just hold it. I don't even know what it is. I have it over on the Matic network, just sitting there, so I don't think about it. And I haven't checked it in a month and a half. So,
It's like 40 cents now, man.
yeah, right. I'll
Yeah.
probably check it and see. I can't remember what I paid for that, like 5 cents or something. But isn't
Yeah.
near as cheap as like the one. It was a fraction of a penny.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool, man.
Awesome. So, yeah, any other good picks that you're watching closely? I guess any picks that you're thinking, man, at current prices, I'm really liking it. That has your interest going on right now.
Um, I mean, obviously, right now, if I'll go into Wanchain ecosystem and move out, I like Zoo. I like the proposition of Zoo. Right? That's really early. You guys check that out. Not financial advice, but it's basically like the next liquidity mining opportunity in the Wanchain ecosystem. Gamified NFTs. You know, I look at things like in sectors, right? And like, what am I underexposed to? I'm I got the DeFi play, I got all that stuff, PDP money, hard store value money, all that stuff. But I was like, okay, I'm underexposed in NFTs. And I don't want to go out and pick in NFTs. I'd rather just get exposed to ecosystems that bring NFTs into existence, right? Like I have Vibe, which is like another kind of engine S coin gaming kind of thing. Um, Zoo is another one because it is symbiotic with my mining of Wasp, you know, pump up my returns and stuff like that. But I'm also looking at something called MHC. I think I told you about it before, Crypto Rain. It's like a Russian-based team blockchain where they use actual like AI they develop to find the fastest route to send transactions through their network. So it tests all the nodes out for every single transaction, says that node A, B, C, that's the fastest route and sends it through. And right now they're averaging like a 3-second transaction finality time. See, that's some stuff that I like, but that's no one's really heard that too much.
Mm-hmm.
That's also like a requirement for me. I like to find the stuff that's not being talked about a lot, like that. Also, people, might not believe in it too much. I like that. Works out with my investment strategy: buy low, sell high.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah, it's funny when you find things with good fundamentals and people aren't talking about it. I think Wanchain is still vastly out, like undervalued because I don't hear it talked about on the big channels, and that's cool. It will be kind of like Matic wasn't for forever, and all of a sudden they do this rebrand, but they're still just Matic, just a different name, and they put out all
Probably
these
are.
press releases. But they were building some fundamentals behind it, and really cheap transactions with a fast transaction speed. And they'd been around for forever, and then all of a sudden everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, Matic rebranded to
Hmm.
Polygon, and oh my gosh, it's 20x." And then all of a sudden the bigger channels are talking about it, like after the 20x.
Sure.
So for me, when I'm trying to, I guess, use my time wisely, I tend to look at people that do solid analysis on things that aren't being talked about everywhere, because that's when you find them as undiscovered gems, right? It's not that you won't necessarily do terrible buying Matic after a solid retracement. It's just if you're chasing where you're hearing it on like the big five YouTube channels, by then you've missed a lot of the pump, and then you're looking for a solid retracement if you are interested in that token before buying in, because sometimes it goes things go through cycles, and you'll even notice that. I mean, a lot of my subscribers, I've only had this channel for 4 months, so they've been, we've been following the Omi token pretty closely, Wanchain, and some other things, and like gaming, like her NFTs have been in the cycle like really hot. And so things like NBA Top Shots went ridiculous from 6 months ago. I put $1,100 into it. It turned into $180,000, and now it's
Wow.
retraced to 100,000. That's actually a good buy zone. Although I'm not buying any additional at
Yeah.
that, right? Because I'm like, well, yeah, probably that's a nice retracement for those that are interested in buying it. Although I have a hard time because I still remember the $1,100 that went to this. So for me, I'm looking for other undiscovered gems that haven't already had this massive increase, even if they are now at a correction point that probably they will then climb up from here. Because even within the crypto space, it goes in cycles, and it was NFTs, 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 and you saw Engine take off. You saw Matic because they're gaming related. A lot of other things go crazy. And then they pull back and it kind of moves on. And, it's kind of moved on to Web3, blockchain stuff. And
Hmm.
Elron Gold has been taking off. And we talked about the breakout of that at like 140, I think 144, and it's been going crazy. And then it will cycle back to something else, and maybe DeFi or something. And then it will come back again to NFTs within this bull market.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And that's a funny thing because I remember Elron looking at it last year at $8. $8.
Yeah.
So like when I see that thing taking off, I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't. You don't want to touch it. And I tell you on NBA Tot Shots, but if you guys are like notice, he used the word probable. It's all about probability. Is it more probable that this thing goes up or goes down? When it goes higher, it's more probable to fall. When it's low, it's more probable to rise. It's all mean reversion. So if you guys could switch your mind a little bit in that way, it helps you be more defensive. It helps you identify more attractive investments, and it's just a simple change in perception, right? So,
It is about growing an investor mindset, and that's what it takes some focused effort so that you can actually start to put your emotions aside and think like an investor. And there are a lot of good books on that that you can read. Like one of the easiest, simplest reads is no, not Think and Grow Rich. That is a great read, but Rich
mhm.
Dad Poor Dad, much simpler read for all the viewers out there. They want an easy book that helps them start to understand how the investor mindset works and how to identify stuff. Think and Grow Rich is another good book, but a lot of good books. And think about if you're trying to make the most happen out of this market, the more you can think like an investor, the better you will, you'll make better decisions overall. And you'll look at what different people are saying and factor in what they're saying and not then just follow anybody blindly into it. You'll be like, oh, I think their analysis makes sense from this perspective, but maybe they're even missing this. And because you think like an investor, you tend to ask more and more questions. As you ask more and more questions, you do a more solid analysis yourself. Because I strongly believe, and what I liked about your channel, it's not about like just number one, we can't give financial advice anyway, but number two, teaching people how to fish for themselves. Because at the
Mhm.
end of the day, that's what I would love. I'd love it if I had a community that they all thought like, investors, and they all made amazing returns because they think like investors. they all took some profits, and then in the crypto winter, they're set to buy really low, and that this following cycle after this, they make life-changing wealth, and that would make me so happy if each one of them went through that. And I'll be talking through, like, going through this journey with you all together, sharing what I think or what my thoughts are and what decisions I'm making, just to kind of help in some of these principles. And I appreciate you, Dub, taking your time to be on this channel. I really like your analysis. One of the few that I look at and I was like, I really like the way this guy thinks. Clearly thinks with an investor mindset, asks lots of deep questions, makes sound decisions.
Thanks, appreciate that, man. Thanks for having me. And yeah, it's not as complicated as people make it seem to believe. Yeah, there's some technical like things you have to learn, but it's more in like how you perceive an investment, because the initial, I guess, reaction you want when you see something on the floor is, why do I want to buy something on the floor? You know, and that's the one thing you got to break. And that, you know, that's something that took me a while to break after I got tired getting wrecked, you know? And I just want to come out on YouTube and just share what I know. Do I know it all? Definitely not. Am I growing every day? Definitely am. And that's just like the attitude I want to foster in my community. Like, I'm probably get some people who know some things about trading I don't. That's totally fine. Welcome. You could teach me. And as long as we develop together, and I'd love for everyone to make a killing this bull run, because, you know, there's strength in numbers and we're all one community. We could help each other, right? So totally hear you on that.
Yeah. Well, I do want to thank you for your time, Dub, and thanks always. And I've enjoyed our discussions over the past month or two since we met, about a month and a half ago, I think.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, always appreciate your insights, and thank you for joining all of us.
Awesome, man. Thanks a lot for having me.
All right.
See you later.
Flowing like rain, the timing's right, we're getting paid. Come on, Rainmakers, let's make this happen.